At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. We encourage the volunteer spirit by providing DePaco employees with the tools and resources to help grow our communities and support the causes that matter to us. We believe that giving back not only strengthens the places we call home, but also enhances our overall well-being. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.
All things Hawkeyes. Your all-access pass from the sidelines to the postgame. Iowa's News Now Sports presents Eye on the Hawks. Sponsored by DePaco Community Credit Union and Pin Seekers.
I was struggling during the game, just trying to, think what this game reminded me a little bit of, and Ray Braithwaite kind of hit it in the head in the locker room. We talked about Purdue in 02, and it's one of those games where at the end of the game, you just wonder how the hell did we do that?
You and us all, Kirk. You and us all. But what a game it was. Drew Stevens, how's that for wrapping up your Kinnick Stadium career? The walk-off 44-yarder, an improbable 10-point comeback fourth-quarter win for the Hawkeyes, 2017 over a still winless in the Big Ten Michigan State squad. And boy, for about 3.5 quarters, you wondered if anything was going to happen good for the Hawkeyes on that Saturday. Welcome to this Sunday edition of Eye on the Hawks. Mitch Fick, Owen Sebring, Mike Howell, Director Wren here inside the DePaco studio at Broadcast Park. Big thank you to DePaco and Pin Seekers for sponsoring us throughout the 2025 football season, and what a home cap it was to that season. As always, if you're watching on the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel, thank you for that. Owen's post-game coverage is up there, along with all of our post-game interviews. And, of course, wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. We'll have a special directions, I suppose, about your Nebraska Week podcast coming up at the end of this. But plenty to get to here on a Sunday after a wild senior day at Kinnick Stadium. We talked about the diversity of the senior class, 28 guys, and everyone with different stories. And boy, what a heck of a chapter they got to write to end their time playing in Iowa City. We start by teeing it up courtesy of Pin Seekers and a senior day comeback for the ages. We'll hear from Mark Gronowski, Drew Stevens, and Kirk Ferentz about what in the world just happened there.
Gosh, it wasn't pretty, but we got it done.
Lord, how do you keep doing this?
I think it's just a lot of reps and, just continually having belief in all the teammates and continuing preaching that to all of them throughout the game. And even when we're down and late in the game, and continuing to talk to them, knowing that I believe in them and that they need to continue to just trust what we're doing, and eventually it's going to go through.
I mean, man, I'm a senior. That's the last time I ever played in Kinnick. And, believe it or not, I have missed one of those before. I'll go back to high school, my senior game in high school. Last time I ever played in my high school stadium, I missed a game-tying field goal. And I put a lot of blame on me that we lost that game because of me. And so I just immediately went back to that moment, and I'm just very grateful that I got to, do it, make it right.
Quite frankly, there's a couple things that happened right at the end of the first half and then into the third quarter where, I started getting concerned just in terms of, you miss opportunities, leave stuff out there, and then, are you going to be able to make that up? And, so that's kind of where that was at. But the bottom line is I'm just really proud of how our players stayed the course. They didn't flinch. They just kept pushing and playing, and then encouraging each other. And then, they continued to compete, which is the most important thing. And the coaches kept coaching. So, it's a 60-minute game. And if you quit, you got no chance. And certainly our players did a great job there. So just really proud of them and very, very happy for them because they certainly, we've had some tough losses. And, you deserve what you get. That's about how it goes. But sometimes it doesn't always work that way. So just really happy for our guys. They can celebrate in the locker room after an effort like that.
And just a game where, in a season where you're waiting for one bounce, literally or figuratively, to go Iowa's way. What a senior day, guys. Just your thoughts, Mike. You were watching at home when you were getting great shots of RVZ and Gill there. There's the RVZ catch. What a dot and what a heck of a grab. Just unbelievable roller coaster, particularly in the fourth quarter.
I don't want to be a downer about certain things, but I will say that, there's been a lot of conversation this year about just, the Hawkeyes being, one play away from, 4 different wins possibly, almost being undefeated right now. But, boy, they're also a couple plays away from having 5 wins right now. You know, the Michigan State or the Penn State game goes a little differently, and we've got a couple fewer wins on that resume at this point. But they do just find a way. I mean, they looked about as bad as you could look. They really looked like 2023 Hawkeyes for a while. Mark Gronowski was channeling his inner Deacon Hill for 3 quarters. It looked like just nothing, absolutely nothing happening on offense for that first part of the game. Missed tackles on defense, just did not look anything like the Hawkeye team we've seen for most of this season. But, boy, final 4 minutes of the game, after a few hundred Hawkeye fans had already left the stadium, they found a way to make it happen.
Yeah, it's a puzzling game, and I'll be quite honest, this is the first game all year that I didn't rewatch in the morning because, like,
why would you?
Look, it was an impressive comeback. Don't get me wrong, and there were some tweets and whatever about should they replace the quarterback, and I'm glad they didn't. And you got to give it to Mark Gronowski. In that fourth quarter, he balled out.
Yep.
He had 117 of his 147 passing yards, but he had 30 yards passing through 3 quarters, and that pick, which was a terrible throw in a double coverage
And a fumble.
So. It was a very ugly game. I think Mark used that word. It boggles my mind how they weren't able to run against this defense. I think,
Yeah.
and I think Tim wanted to pass because Michigan State was selling out for the run, and they just could not move the ball. And it was really frustrating throughout 90% of that game, and it was almost more relief than
exuberance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So. Super happy they actually pulled it out. It seems like one of those games they don't pull it out, and maybe if they're not playing one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a weird game. But you have to give it to the seniors. When they needed to make plays, they made plays. And those catches from Gill and RVZ, not a senior, but still, those were awesome plays.
And, man, I know I've talked a few times this year about is Kaden Wetjen the most valuable player on this team. They don't win that game yesterday without Kaden Wetjen and his punt returns. I mean, he is the one who helped seal that game, both with the touchdown and with the clutch one in the fourth quarter that helped set them up back in a field goal range again.
And I was sitting there watching the touchdown, and, there was a point where he's like 20 yards away where the Michigan State defender almost tackled him. If he goes down, take into consideration how I was playing. Do they score a touchdown? I don't know. He is the MVP yesterday's game. Without him on the team this year, I wonder if they even do you drop in a bigger hole against Rutgers? Do they come back and win that game? Maybe they do because their offense was playing pretty well that day. But it's just one of those things where he's a player that maybe swings 1 or 2 games this year.
Mm-hmm. The wins above replacement metric. He's got to have the biggest WAR of anybody on the Hawkeye roster this year.
It is a 3-phase game after all, isn't it? It's I drew the parallel of is Mark Gronowski, Tim Tebow. That looked like 2012 Denver Broncos football, didn't it?
I was going to bring that up eventually, and it's like that is exactly what that Broncos team looked like. Every single game, it was like the quarterback digs a hole for 3.5 quarters and then somehow, over the last 5 minutes, digs his team right back out of it. Dig up, stupid, as they say in The Simpsons. It really was. Every single game, I'm like, man, this really is Tim Tebow out there at quarterback. Even when he's doing bad, I'm like, yeah, this is about like what Tebow looked like for the Broncos in 2012.
I wonder too how banged up the O-line, how that factored in.
That's the only thing I could keep thinking of. Just like
Spartan defensive line.
Bo and Cade and Dunker just like held together with duct tape and just like we're not going to miss this game. That's what it felt like. Dunker was on the bike on the sidelines in between every single drive.
Really?
I haven't watched the tape back that closely, but it felt like, they were just number 5 for MSU. Had a couple big plays. I know they had some runs near the end that kind of pumped up the numbers a little bit, and I'm doing some mental gymnastics here and some actual math. But if you take the Terrell Washington trick play that had no chance whatsoever.
That was a puzzling play call because he hasn't played in 4 games.
Yeah, that was his first carry since Indiana. Yeah, if you take out that play, Weege's 1 carry for 1 yard, Xavier Williams 2 carries for 2 yards, which was a 2-yard gain and a no gain, and Mark's sacks, take those out. They actually averaged better than 5 yards a pop if you take those out. So I'm cooking numbers real big, but I thought they moved the ball decently on the ground. Run defense, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, I thought was really good aside from giving Tulis that 35-yarder. It just felt like, very 2023. There was that great exchange in the post game with Elliott asking Kirk about, you mentioned, was it 2002 Purdue, and as somebody who was 6 at the time, he went to 2023. It did feel very much like that. But did you ever think at any point like they're absolutely about to lose this, or was it always the teetering feeling of like, boy, they got to do something now, or this is gone? Like that fourth down where they missed it to DJ, was it just like that's it?
Boy, when Mark Gronowski threw the ball off the goalpost, I really did wonder, man, this game just seems fated to be a loss for the Hawkeyes. Although I will say, when the fans were walking out of the stadium, I was like,
that always,
it's a bit early for that. I'm
that's
like,
not shaking hands against Nebraska, or when Nebraska didn't do that, right? Like, just don't do those things.
I'm like, if Michigan State picks up a couple first downs here, yes, I think you've got warrant to leave at this point. But they're a 3-and-out away from getting the ball back and possibly tying this game up. So I never quite had their fate sealed, but I was maybe a possession away from saying, yeah, this game's over.
I certainly did after they went up 10 because like Iowa hadn't been able to do it. And yeah, you're right. There were some running plays that were like, wow, let's just keep doing this. But they didn't seem to get in rhythm, and that offensive line seemed like, I thought Michigan State's defensive line was kind of controlling things outside of those. Yeah. And every time you would get a big run, then there'd be like that loss, a sack by Gronowski, or he'd, throw in a double cover or whatever. And honestly, the pick set up the punt return. So maybe that
works out. Everything works out in weird ways.
That is the most 2023 thing to happen, too, honestly, for Deacon Hill to throw an interception, the team to punt it away, and Cooper DeJean to have a 50-yard punt return touch. Like, that also just was so reminiscent of something to happen in 2023.
Yeah, I'm trying to look this up, too. So you mentioned the first down in the fourth quarter. Like, in the fourth quarter, you're like, well, when the people were leaving, I wonder. Michigan State only had one first down in that quarter. So the defense really stepped up. I'm trying to see how many they had overall. 19 overall throughout the game. They had 19 first downs.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that quarterback, they've got a guy.
Jeez.
They've got, they don't do anything too crazy, but he does it really well.
I feel like half his completions were on just like check down, waggle stuff out to the flat.
That's all he's got to do. And again, he did it really, really well. He got knocked a couple times. Brian Allen had the roughing the passer. Max Llewellyn gave him a shot. I mean, but he stood in there. It's an impressive kid.
And I don't think we talked about this yet, but somebody did the math and said that he went to high school like 20 minutes away from where Mark Gronowski went to high school.
Was that true?
Yeah,
on the TV broadcast, that's all they talked about.
Oh, really?
These guys are from Naperville. How crazy is that?
Yeah. They were talking about they're both from Naperville. The one thing, too, I wanted to bring up because I just felt I felt really bad for an opponent. It's the wide receiver who scored a touchdown, Krishan McCray.
Right.
Because he played 2 years at Kent State.
Wow.
And this is his first year at Michigan State. So he is through 3 years hasn't not won a conference game.
Oh, wow.
Kent
he
State
was at Kenny Burns' Kent State team. Yeah.
So when he scored that touchdown, I kind of been, even though they was against Iowa, I was like, oh, you know what? That's a heartwarming moment.
Yeah. Well, hey, we talked about 19 for MSU and just the hell he's had to go through the last couple of years. I mean, yeah, it's senior day. Like, you're more cognizant of all these really cool stories. And
he's got next year.
Mike's over it. This was a big part of discussion, and we talked about it a little bit in the newsroom too, and was picking Doctorman's brain after the game. If they would have lost, where would this have ranked in bad losses in Kirk Ferentz's career? These are the four that we came up with, and we talked about them a little bit here. Western Michigan in 07 pops out immediately. That's senior day. Western Michigan wins by 9. They were 3-7 at the time, and Iowa didn't go to a bowl game. They finished 6-6. Central Michigan in 2012. This was not Dan Lefevre Chippewas. This was post that. I don't even think Cooper Rush was there yet. I mean, he was a great quarterback for CMU, but they win at Kinnick Stadium, and that was a team I think maybe finished 7-6 under Dan Enos or something like that. 2010 Minnesota, the Gophers were 2-9. Adam Weber, a 4-year starter, had never won a trophy game as Gophers starting quarterback. Mike was there, had his 21st birthday ruined, and Iowa lost that game to go to 7-5. Of course, then they go to the Insight Bowl. You get an iconic win over Missouri. Marcus Coker goes crazy. Micah Hyde has a crazy interception return for a touchdown, so everything works out there. And then senior day 2017 against Purdue, lost by 9. They scored with a minute left to make it a little more respectable, but they were down 24-9 until that score. That was a team that, again, beat Ohio State, beat the brakes off the Buckeyes, and then went to Wisconsin, and Josh Jackson had 2 pick sixes, and that was the offense. So that was just 2017 was a weird season. But if they would have lost to a winless Michigan State team, winless in conference, at home on senior day, as a team that we were just talking last week,
one of the best.
This could be regardless. Yeah. It would have been devastating. Maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment, but I've never heard Kinnick that shocked. I don't think anybody couldn't have a clue. We're going to see in the picks. Nobody had a clue this thing was going to be close.
Yeah, the amount of boos that we heard yesterday for, I don't know exactly for who, Gronowski, Lester, or Ferentz or somebody, but...
I think it was everyone.
Just all parties involved. Yeah, I don't think that I expected to hear those kind of boos this season after what we've seen out of Gronowski and the offense and what this team's put together. Yeah, I mean, the amount of talent on this team, the amount of guys who are going to play in the NFL, the amount of guys who are up for trophy awards this year, that was my headline that even though I hadn't given up on the Hawkeyes, I was writing my intros for my package in my head, and that was gonna be the thing. Maybe one of the worst losses of the Kirk Ferentz era. I don't think anything would ever top that Western Michigan game. I think that has to be about as bad as it has gotten, but this would have been right up there for considering where you were 2 weeks ago as the number 19 team in the country on the verge of competing for a spot in the CFP. To lose to that Michigan State team would have been humiliating.
Definitely when you consider the opponent's strength. We were just talking, I'll throw one out there. I don't think this is. I agree with the Western Michigan. But we were talking. I was like, that 51-14 blowout win at Minnesota, blowout loss against Minnesota in 2014 was just, as a Hawkeye fan, feeling bad. That felt like, because I was used to beating up on Minnesota the past 10 years. Like, you think of 2002. 09 when they
08
sorry 55-0
final game of the Metrodome. Yeah.
So you go back and you're like, Minnesota usually doesn't score 50 on Iowa, but they went 8-5 that year. They weren't a bad team, and Iowa went 7-5, I think. So it was a good team.
It's like,
at least.
If you're Iowa, you might lose that kind of game to a number 1 Ohio State team or something like that, but not Minnesota.
There has to be a 3-9 Iowa State team that they lost to, but it's a Cyhawk. You can't really throw that in the mix.
Heck of a win on Senior Day for Iowa State against Kansas, but LaShawn Williams back in the state of Iowa had a touchdown. Wow. So he's had a nice little season for the Jayhawks when he's been healthy. Just been battling injuries and stuff, but just a good stay execution for the Hawkeyes on a wild day. It was such a cool day with the flyover, and Jay Norvell was back in town. It sounded like Jay Norvell, because he's been coaching and all this stuff, hadn't been back to Kinnick maybe since he had graduated.
That's what he said.
Him and Greg Morris had a nice little moment on the sideline there. And
was he not the coach of Colorado State when they came here 2 years ago?
He was not.
Oh, okay.
He was at Nevada still.
Oh, so he had a really short tenure there.
Yeah, but I believe Bud Meyer was the OC for that Colorado State team, who got some shade thrown at them by Josh Allen during his, I don't know if you guys saw that. Josh Allen got his number retired at Wyoming yesterday, yesterday was Saturday, and apparently that's a big rivalry, Wyoming and he said something like, it's always going to suck to be a CSU Ram or something like that. Like, it was fun. The whole crowd.
I only know this because my parents are both CSU alums.
That's right.
Yeah, that they would talk about the game. I think that they maybe didn't win a game for my mom's entire college career. CSU was terrible in the 70s. But yeah, I know that she always talked about that was the game that, like, all the CSU fans, Fort Collins and what is it? Laramie are not real far from each other, so a lot of back and forth travels between those two schools.
Yeah, it was a heck of an atmosphere, and one senior shone above all. Jacob Gill obviously had a huge play, but thank you to Pin Seekers for helping us tee it up. And Michigan State just kept teeing it up to Kaden Wetjen, and he was asked about that after a historic Saturday for him in Kinnick Stadium.
Were you surprised they kept kicking to you?
Oh yeah. I was pretty happy. So it kind of angered me when they started doing the QB quick kick, but thankfully they gave me a couple more after that.
You've now got the most return touchdowns of any Hawkeye in program history. That's Tim Dwight, the guy who I know you were compared to by LeVar Woods coming in. Just what's that mean to take that kind of place in Hawkeye history?
It's pretty surreal, and like you said, Tim, I mean, he's one of the legends here, and I told you guys a couple weeks ago I talked to Tim pretty frequently, and it's just pretty cool to beat his record. And I mean, he's been egging me on the whole time. He's been proud of me. I know he's proud of me, and it's just been awesome to have a guy like that kind of behind you.
Have you heard from him at this point?
He texted me before the game today, telling me to go break it. So I'm sure I haven't checked yet, but I'm sure he texted back.
Does it make it even more special for you, Kaden, because you grew up not in Iowa City, but right outside of Iowa City in Williamsburg?
Yeah,
you're a hometown boy, basically. Does that even make it even more special for you?
Yeah, and I got a bunch of family members that came to this game, and I mean, hometown people everywhere. It's just awesome to know that they're watching, and I do it all for them. So it's pretty cool to have a community like that behind you.
Kaden Wetjen just single-handedly kept us in the game today in a lot of ways, just with his returns. And I don't know if I've ever been around a player like that, that electric, that much juice. And I think his whole story is his evolution, and he was fearless too back then, but you just didn't know what he was going to do, and you didn't know he was going to catch it. You didn't know what he was going to do once he had it. And to me, every step of the way, he's really just really made strides. Last year, obviously, he played great as a return guy. Didn't do a lot on offense. And then this year, he's gotten some traction there too, and he's done some really good things offensively. And that play last week gave us a chance, almost gave us a chance to win that ball game. So, 2 years ago, it never would have happened.
Well, here's the kick that made history, more the return that made history. 6 punt and kickoff return touchdowns for Wetjen. That breaks Tim Dwight's record. He did it in a span of 16 games. His first return score was a year ago this week against last month against Northwestern. Less than 13 calendar months. For perspective, Tim Dwight did it had his 5 within an 18-game span. Also started in his junior year and going into his senior year. But the question's simple. Is he the best now? Has he surpassed Dwight as a return man?
I certainly would say so. I think that's the caveat that we put on it a few weeks ago when we were having the same discussion about him being the greatest return man was if he can get one more and he can break Dwight's record, you have to give it to him, and I think we do have to. I think I've seen a few stats popping up about this today that he, I think, is now 8th in Big Ten history on punt return yards in a career, and he's played less than half as many games as any other guy on the list. That's crazy. He right now has, in his career, is averaging 17.9 yards a return. That right now would break the Big Ten career record, which has stood since 1942.
Yeah.
So we're talking like Tory Taylor type of numbers because he broke about a 80-year-old record held by Niall Kinnick. Or is that correct? That might not be correct. Yeah. But and he, I think, if he were to bump that up just even a tiny bit, it would be an NCAA career record if he sticks around that area, which it would not maybe be hard for him. If he just gets a couple more returns of 25, 30 yards, he could for sure cement that place in that career return yardage category. So, I just have no question in my mind. And it's maybe just a conversation that the only reason it's a debate is because he hasn't been around or we haven't known his name maybe for a long time outside of fans of Williamsburg High School that maybe know the Wetjens a little better. But people just found out about this guy a little over a year ago, and he was at a community college a couple years ago, and he doesn't have the high school legend gravitas that Tim Dwight had. So I think it feels like it needs to be more of a debate because of the aura around Tim Dwight, but overall, I think if you just look at the raw numbers, it has to be Kaden Wetjen, greatest return man in Hawkeye history.
Isn't this his third year in the program, though?
It is his third year, but in 2023, was he doing much?
That's the wild. Do you remember Senior Day 2023 against Illinois? He was in there for Coop. Coop was out, and he had that 16-yard return to set up the go-ahead touchdown. And he had one go over his head earlier in that one. He
forgot about that.
And I was just like, man, what an awesome thing for this kid from Williamsburg, a walk-on from Iowa Western, and he gets a 16-yard return, a little thing that goes a long way. I was that's freaking awesome. Good for that kid. And obviously I've got Williamsburg ties, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. And here we are, 24 months later, and we're saying he's better than Tim Dwight. What a freaking journey.
Yeah.
And again, you got 27 other Senior Day stories out there, but what a kid. Ted Ginn's in sight. Ted Ginn is the GOAT across the board. If he were to do it in a bowl game again and somehow do it in Lincoln, and you get up to 8, and you're tying Ted Ginn, the guy who I think, unquestionably people still believe he is the greatest return man of all time, you're putting yourself in some pretty historic status, as he's already done. It's happened so fast, to your point. It's just happened so quickly.
I certainly think he's the best, and I thought it was pretty creative how Michigan State was having their quarterback punt, and he didn't do too bad. He had a 36 yards
He had a
average.
49-yarder, didn't he?
Yeah, his average was 36 with a 49 average. So I really like that just because then no one returns it because we didn't have a safety going back because you can still throw it out of that formation and you don't want to, give them a look. But the only thing I guess two things I think people will put Dwight above him. One, nostalgia, just because, I don't remember watching Tim Dwight, so I have an easier time putting Kaden up there. Two, I think it's hard to separate Tim Dwight the football player overall than Tim Dwight, the returner. Like he had 2,000 receiving yards, Tim Dwight, and 21 receiving touchdowns.
Wow.
Wetjen has, like couple 200 yards receiving in his career and 1 receiving touchdown. So like when you put their entire football careers together, maybe Dwight's still, as an offensive player, no doubt Dwight's better still.
Yeah. He's
But
still
as
the
a
better
returner.
player.
Yeah. I think you have to go Wetjen.
And
100%.
athlete, too, being a track star, too, for Iowa. Just the overall athlete, certainly Dwight was better. I can bring in a little bit of my sports card collecting knowledge here for Kaden Wetjen story, because just before coming over here, I was at a card show over at the Doubletree. They had a show going on today, and there are a few Kaden Wetjen cards out there. Leaf, the company, is creating some Kaden Wetjen cards, and they are all personally autographed, and you can, each player can vary their signature as much as they want. And so Kaden Wetjen has personalized a lot of his signatures with, Jet Award winner, then autograph Kaden Wetjen. He has a couple that say Devin Hester who, and then autograph as Kaden Wetjen. So appreciate the game he's putting out there for some of the autographs.
I don't want to say he's cocky, but sometimes when he catches the ball and there's a guy like 5 feet in front of him, that is like cocky in a good way.
Yeah.
Confidence.
He had a
very
fair catch
confident.
yesterday, and I was like, is that 3 this year?
Yeah.
Maybe.
There were 3 guys right in front of him, so he had to call the fair catch.
He's wired differently. He's also still cocky humble. Like on that go ahead touchdown against Penn State, he's like, Mark got us down there, and everybody blocked, like whatever. Like, and then Jennings picked me up like a rag doll. I didn't know what was going on. Like, he's very still like small town aw shucks, but it's what a ride for that kid, and he's gonna get a shot on Sundays. You can't deny it, no matter what you think about him.
Yeah,
he's gonna get an opportunity, and what a weird stat this is. This is 3 straight home games against Michigan State that Iowa has had a punt return touchdown.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
20 or 21 was Charlie Jones.
Oh.
23 was Coop. 25. I mean, that's how it has to go now.
Another weird stat, and this was from Lystico and Doctorman on their pod. Before the game, they were like, the next punt will be the first punt since Cooper's punt return, because Michigan State didn't punt last year in East Lansing.
Right, yeah.
Wow.
So that's kind of wild, too. I mean, it wasn't the next punt, Kaden Wetjen's, but it was like the second or third,
Yeah, it's such a strange series, Iowa and Michigan State. I mean, they've had so many great ones. When D'Antonio was there, going back to 15, they had a win at Iowa. They ran the fake punt with Mike Sadler in 13 on their way to Rose Bowl. I feel you had 2009, Stanzi to McNutt.
7 got 6.
7 got 6. 2008 was Javon Ringer, and he was great. Don't do that, Mike. Don't do that. This is a recorded podcast. For those listening on audio, Mike did a meme.
What about 10, when Kirk Cousins came in and they were ranked 5th in the country and Iowa blew them out?
That was a wild one.
38-7?
It was 30-0 at half, and I think 37-7. That was the Tyler Sash pick laterally to Micah Hyde. Again, talking about 2010, just Micah had 2 of the craziest pick sixes you could imagine.
37-6.
That was one of 37-6. Yeah, that was a couple of years. Was that last year or 2 years ago? Talked to Ricky Stanzi about that game, and he was just like, you blink and it's just a wild game, and momentum's nuts, and that was a decent Spartan squad too. So it's just been a very strange. And of course, you got Phil Parker, who's an MSU grad, coaching up against his alma mater. Just that's football, I suppose. Crazy stuff. Well, we've talked a lot about the craziness on offense or lack thereof, the special teams, of course, with Stevens and Wetjen. 3 other things. Let's look at the defense a little bit. Carson Shire, career day on senior day, 10 tackles, 3 of those for loss. That's a career high, tied a career high with 10 tackles. He's had 3 of those games in his first year starting. He was just all over the place. Every tackle felt like it was big, and also had a sack up there as well. This was a big goal line one he had. And I believe that was the first quarter, maybe. Also, Zach Lutmer just continues to rise. That's about as pretty as a pick as you're going to find. Had the interception that's leading the team, and had a couple of TFLs in there. And, boy, you just talk about a guy who needed to step up in a leadership role with all those guys leaving. And Cohen's been there. Xavier's had a fantastic senior season, but Zach Lutmer feeling like he's the cornerstone to build around for a while. And then how about the front 4? So many seniors on that front 4. Again, I did some crazy math here. If you take out the 35-yard gain that they had and take out the sacks allowed, I believe they were only giving up 2 yards a carry. Max Lone was all over the place too. Ethan Herkett had that big sack to set up the go-ahead drive. Jonah Pace had a great knockdown. Aaron Graves in his final game at Kinnick was all over. This defense, I know, gave up some big plays, but through 11 games, they are still the number 9 scoring defense in the country, number 8 total defense in the country, number 12 in pass defense, 14 in rush defense. We've talked about waiting to see like what happens. They were coming back from USC, and Mekhi Lemon things. This defense still like feels like the most points they've given up all season is still Rutgers. They gave up 28 at Rutgers, and 14 of those were in the first quarter. It's a defense that's got a lot of seniors, was replacing a lot of guys, and still feels like that's a group that's really been impressive, I think, overall.
And I mean,
without TJ Hall yesterday.
I was just going to touch on that. Yesterday, I mean, there was a lot of points yesterday where they did look human. Way too many missed tackles by that defense yesterday, and the secondary did get picked apart a bit, but you do have to credit a lot of that to TJ Hall being out for that game. I think we wonder going in, could TJ play? And then he walks out for senior day, like, in not street clothes, but in jersey too.
There was a little awkward laugh because it took a little while. They're like, all right, TJ's here.
He's not
TJ's
playing.
still walking. All right.
Yeah, and his family, I think, kind of walked up to meet him a little bit. That was nice. So, so I think that certainly did hurt them, and you wonder if some of the guys were banged up, kind of like the offensive line, and maybe that's why they struggled a little bit. But they still do look great. And Zach Lutmer, I still talk about this kid that this too might seem almost blasphemous, but I'm like, by next year, this kid might become better than Cooper DeJean. I like so much about what Zach Lutmer brings to the table. I think that he is outstanding at what he does already as eligibility, true sophomore?
This is the third year, right?
Okay. Only played a couple years, though. I think that he is going to be high-level NFL draft stock by the end of next season.
Yeah, there were times in that game where I was frustrated defense, but when you look back at it, it's like you can't really, I think the more blame goes on, you got to score points, to win the game, and especially in some of those other games, too. Like, Iowa's defense does what it does. 17 points. You should be scoring more than that, and they did, luckily. But it just took a lot in this specific game, and they did get a lot of big plays, tackles for loss. And I think you brought it up midweek. Michigan State's like one of the worst teams in the country allowing those.
Front five, terrible. Yeah, give up a lot of TFLs and
132 out of 136 allowing them, eight a game. That's insane. But, they did what they needed to do, especially, and then ramped it up in the fourth quarter. We talked about how Mark went out there, balled out in the fourth, and did what he needed to do. Allowing 1 first down when in the previous 3 quarters you allow 18, that's pretty darn good. And in some of those drives, it was do or die. If you get 1 first down, game's over. So you got to tip your hats to them.
Yeah, you saw Jalen Watson go in at corner a little bit. Rashad Godfrey got a little run there as well. I think he might have got a PI or maybe something like that. But they got some run. Lutmer obviously plugged in. I think Deshaun might have been in coverage for one of those touchdowns.
So I thought that was a good play call. I wasn't sure if
Michigan State played well. Give credit to those guys. I mean, they're 0-8 in conference, but I felt like what they were trying to do, they did.
They brought it.
Well.
Yeah.
That play specifically, I don't know what coverage they were in, but it seemed like Deshaun wasn't like a deep.
Yeah,
but
that's the feeling I got.
It looked like he was trying to push him off the safety, but there was also a receiver going. Maybe he got burned, but it was like
holes in the zone really.
I thought that was still. I mean, the receiver had 4 steps on him. I still thought the throw was a little underthrown. So if he was closer, he could have made a play. But it was just a good play call, good throw, good catch.
Yeah, but that defense, that was the big question going in, especially the linebacking core. And again, Shire has been terrific. Jaden Harrell was out there a little bit, but Jaden Montgomery's still holding his own. And Rex Rothman, he was in there making some big plays on his senior day as well, the former walk-on out of Xavier. Picks recap. I don't know if I want to see this. I didn't go over 4.
You don't? Yeah, you did.
I did. That's what I thought. Yep, that's 3 this year. Yep. Oh, boy. Yep.
It's boom or bust for you, Mitch.
Yeah.
And I think Owen was making me go first so he could just tail me so he doesn't give up any ground.
I think I still went first for 3 of those picks last week.
Yeah, so for those not watching on YouTube, Northwestern was 3.5 favored against Minnesota. Gophers lost only by 3, so they covered. Shout out Oregon. I forgot to factor in Oregon's rush defense because they allowed nothing for USC. Pretty good battle through the air, but Oregon won that comfortably. Nebraska,
wow.
I think we all agreed they might lose this game.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
We thought it would be within 9.5. Penn's give Terry Smith that damn job.
Yeah.
Give Terry Smith the job in Happy Valley.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Give Terry Smith the damn job.
I feel like the sentiment on this podcast was okay, TJ Lateef can't be that much worse than Dylan Raiola to be
played well in that other game.
But boy, he was not. It just
That's a
all
Penn
went
State
wrong.
team that, again, you're talking about hold off Oregon a month ago and what could be.
Was Terry Smith coaching so Matt Rule does not get offered the job at Penn State? Boy, that's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah. And then, of course, Iowa did not cover a 16.5-point spread. We should
Certainly
have known
not.
better. We're like, boy, that's big
Here's the
spread
thing.
for a Big Ten game.
Usually, you guys know this by now, and the fans probably pick up on it. I'm a negative fan in every sport in my life. If I am ever extremely confident, like I was this past week, just hammer the other team. Because I swear, every time I'm super confident over Iowa or whatever, or Green Bay, today I thought Minnesota would blow out Green Bay, and Green Bay beat them because we had so many injuries.
Yeah, the mic fade, the fan tax.
No clue.
Betting with Howell is a podcast that's coming up.
I bet on the Hawks too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Ouch.
And I bet on Cal the cover against Stanford, and they lost the game outright.
Major ouch.
31-10.
Yeah. We have had some wild swings in terms of Iowa point spreads because it seems like they just lull you into a false insecurity. Because I think I took Minnesota when they were playing them.
So did I.
Oh, Minnesota's going to keep it close. They did not. And I sure thought that I was going to just do what they did against Minnesota, against Michigan State, and they did not.
Here's my question to you guys going into next week. If some of the linemen, if the reason Iowa's O-line didn't really dominate is because they are banged up and it kind of, do you sit them and just play the guy who's fresher?
Huh.
It's a tough move to make.
Yeah, I don't.
They're all seniors though, right? So like I see why they played this game.
Not, but yeah.
Okay.
I mean, everyone's gonna. I'm pretty sure Logan Jones hasn't played a bowl game since Joey Labus was starting the Music City Bowl. So I would have to think like he just wants to play every single snap that he can, and I'm sure Bo and Jennings are among that. If they've got a heartbeat, they're going to be out there.
If there was a game that they were going to sit, it was going to be the Michigan State game.
But I guess if you're a coach and they're not performing up to their ability, I mean that's you got to step in. But it would be tough because those guys probably deserve to play.
Mm-hmm.
And just to talk about spreads again, Iowa's a 5.5-point favorite going to Nebraska on Friday. That you can watch that game on CBS, 11 a.m. kick. We've got some other spreads out there if we're just going through. Indiana is a 28.5-point favorite against Purdue in West Lafayette. Purdue trying to avoid going 0 for the Big Ten schedule. Ohio State at Michigan. Buckeyes are an 11.5-point favorite. That game's the big noon kickoff on Fox. Next Saturday, Oregon by 6.5 over a good Washington team. Wisconsin, Minnesota playing for Paul Bunyan's Axe. Minnesota's only a 2.5-point home favorite against the Badgers.
Wisconsin got a solid win against Illinois.
Good. Everyone's figuring it out.
Wisconsin got a ranked win before Iowa did this season.
No, I'll ignore that. We're no spread yet for Penn State at Rutgers to wrap up everything there on the East Coast. UCLA and USC, a cornerstone Big Ten rivalry right there. USC a 20.5-point favorite coming off the loss. Michigan State only a 3.5-point favorite over Maryland at home next week, and Northwestern and Illinois, the Illini a 6.5-point home favorite against the bowl-eligible Wildcats. Good on Northwestern. What a game that was against Minnesota, and Minnesota had a chance to tie at the very end and missed the field goal. But it's been a fun little Big Ten schedule there across the board.
I do love. I like Michigan State in that game. I mean, they showed me something yesterday that's a team that wants to get a Big Ten win this year. I love that story about McCray, like
Krishan McCray.
Actually,
I said one touchdown. He caught both.
Yeah, he did.
For Michigan State.
Get that kid a conference win.
Yeah.
So is he a senior this year? College finale?
I think. Well, he said 2 years at Kent State and this year at Michigan State. Okay. So I think he's a junior.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Michigan State or Purdue. Somebody's got to. Don't finish 0-4 in conference. It's probably not going to happen for Purdue because they got the Hoosiers, but Michigan State, Sparty, get something done there. All right, so usually we do our preview podcasts on Wednesday. We're going to change it up this week, trying to assist your holiday travel. We are going to record Tuesday night, so you should have this pod done, or pod for your travels Wednesday morning, I think will be the goal. I'm sure it'll maybe be posted by Tuesday night, Mike.
Probably late Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Probably by 8 or 9.
Sure. So if you're on the road and you get out of the Eastern Iowa metro area and you can't get 104.5 KDAT's Christmas music anymore, you've got something to listen to. You'll have a preview podcast for the Heroes game. Iowa goes to Lincoln for the first time since Marshall Meter walked it off in 2023. Ethan Herkett had his lone career interception, and what a wild finish that was in Memorial Stadium. Mike, was that the one you were at? Yeah, you were there.
Yeah, we both
got
were
a
there.
great shot of Jay Higgins and his dad there.
Mm-hmm.
What a moment that was. Crazy, crazy game, and it'll be another one here. Matt Rule still talking. He signed an extension, but what if? Lots to break down on Tuesday. We'll get your player sound up there on the YouTube channel and get some sound bites from Ferentz as well and look at what makes the Huskers tick as they try to get one back after last year not shaking hands and all that good stuff. Oh, the rivalry fire continues to burn brightly. We'll talk about it all on Tuesday night on Eye on the Hawks. For Ren and Mike and Owen, I'm Mitch. We'll see you then.
At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. We encourage the volunteer spirit by providing DePaco employees with the tools and resources to help grow our communities and support the causes that matter to us. We believe that giving back not only strengthens the places we call home, but also enhances our overall well-being. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.